growing up in Northern Ontario has always been a challenge for us. Our winters are quite cold and long. Our winter temperatures normally vary between -30 and -40, and our winters are normally about 9 months long throughout the year. Our wintertime normally starts in the month of October, and it isn't uncommon to be trick-or-treating in the snow and having to wear a snowsuit underneath your costume. And then it normally continues on until about Easter time. I actually seen some pictures of my niece and nephew this past Easter where they're building a snowman, but it's actually an Easter bunny. And they've dressed it up with colors and that kind of thing. So it's still pretty cold out there today. One of the things in my speech today that I would like to outline is how we survive our winters. Our main thing that we depend on is heat. Because our winters are so cold, we need a different kind of heating system out there than we do out here. In Ontario, we normally depend on a gas-fired furnace, and what that is it's a big honking machine that normally takes the size of a walk-in closet, and it blows hot air into your house. Versus out here, when I moved out here, it's a little bit different. We have heat pumps out here, same kind of system, just not as hot, or you have electric baseboard. If we were to bring that design in Ontario, we would definitely freeze. One of the things about our gas-fired furnaces is they normally last about 10 years. And I've experienced ours breaking in the middle of winter when we had a full-on snowstorm and it was -40. And luckily my dad was a plumber and he also did heating, so he managed to jimmy rig us something to get us through the winter time. However, it was still not pumping enough heat that we would normally need, so we layered up with a lot of blankets that night. One thing that I do like about that gas-fired furnace is it's not just used for heating, but a lot of the times when you go play outside and you come back in the house, we tend to like to sit on the rads because it tends to warm you up. And it's also a good thing to use too for heating up your boots and your mittens. So I like to normally put my boots on the rod, and then in the morning they're nice and warm, so then I can just stick my feet in and go to work. One of the things we also depend on in Northern Ontario is what we call a block heater for our cars. Out here, we don't have that, and I brought my vehicle from Northern Ontario to BC, and I was the only one that had the little plug sticking outside of the vehicle. And what that is it tends to, we depend on plugging our cars at night in order for them to start. And the block heater is made to keep the oil warm at night, so that come morning, you just put the key in and start it. However, since our winters do get down to -40, sometimes you can't really depend on your block heater actually working. I've had it happen to me before where I would start the car and it would argue with me because it wouldn't want to start. So those days are when you try and find a way to catch a city bus to get to work. Another great thing that we have as well that we depend on for our vehicles are car starters. Car starters are a great thing to have because if it's -40 and you are at work, you can time your car to start every so many hours so that you're keeping that oil warm, and then you can get home that night. The municipality of where I'm from, it's a little small mining town in Northern Ontario called Sudbury, and they basically need to keep our roads maintained on a regular basis. If the roads are not maintained, we can't get anywhere because we get such a high volume of snow in one snowstorm. So our city trucks, we have a full fleet, unlike in BC, we have maybe 2 in Victoria. So they're constantly moving snow 24 hours a day, 7 days a week until April time. And they're also there to salt our roads. Another thing too is we get so much snow that these maintenance people have to go in residential areas to actually cut the snowbanks because our snowbanks are about 6 to 8 feet high. So actually driving out your driveway, you can actually get into an accident. So we do depend on them to come and clear that path for us. And then for last but not least is our outerwear. So our outerwear, you may as well compare us looking at the Michelin Man, because we do depend on so many layers. And we do need those layers, because it could turn from one minute it's nice in springtime weather, and then that evening it is -20. So you really need to layer on your layers. So you normally would put like a base layer, then your normal clothes, and then either a coat and snow pants. And I also always wear snow pants, because the reason why for that is if it's mild out or you're walking through the snow, you're getting your pants wet. From there you go inside, it melts, and then you have that beautiful ring of salt on your pants. So it's not very presentable for work. So as you can see, living in Northern Ontario is quite different than living in BC. We depend on heat, outerwear, and road maintenance to get us through just the winter time. And just those little things is for me, that when it snows out in BC or it gets cold, I can't complain, because I know it's always worse back home. Yeah, thank you.